Have you ever considered that your emotions might be lying to you? I know, it sounds impossible. How could something that intense, that convincing, that physical, be anything but real? But what if it isn't the truth at all? And what if realizing that is the one shift that quietly explains almost everything you've never been able to understand about yourself? Because something very specific happens inside you when an emotion rises faster than your clarity can catch it. It feels like truth, it feels like certainty, it feels like you. But that feeling is often the first sign that you've already left the present moment. One moment you are steady, aware yourself, and the next, something older rushes forward and takes your place. It speaks quickly, speaks with authority, and imitates truth so convincingly that you don't even think to question it. This is the emotional hijack, not a flaw, not weakness, but a reflex your mind learned long before you were conscious of learning anything at all. A tone that feels slightly off, a silence that feels too loud, a look that echoes something you once feared. The trigger is tiny, but the shift inside you is enormous. Your breath tightens, your thoughts outrun the moment. Your body prepares for a danger that isn't here. And suddenly, the emotion feels like the only interpretation possible. But here's what no one ever taught you. You're not reacting to the moment you're in. You're reacting to the meaning your mind created before you had the chance to see what was actually happening. And while this is happening, you can feel yourself slip. You hear your tone sharpen before you understand why. You close even though you wanted to stay open. You defend yourself even though no one is attacking. You interpret the present through the lens of something that belongs to another time entirely. Then afterward, you blame yourself for losing control, for being overwhelmed by something that wasn't even real. But this doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. Your mind simply reached for an old meaning faster than your clarity could rise. And that is why emotions feel so true, not because they reflect reality, but because they reflect memory. When you finally see this, truly see it, the reaction begins to lose some of its authority. You find that small, steady space inside you that the emotion cannot reach. The part of you that witnesses, not the part that reacts. And the moment you return to that awareness, the hijack loosens. Not because the emotion disappears, but because you reappear. But this leads to an even more important question, one most people never think to ask. If your emotions can feel real and still be untrue, then how do you tell the difference? How do you know when an emotion is guiding you and when it's quietly misleading you? That's what we need to unravel next. If your emotions can feel real and still be untrue, then the next question becomes unavoidable. How do you tell the difference? How do you know when an emotion is pointing you towards something meaningful and when it's pulling you into a story that isn't happening anymore? Because this is where most people get lost, not in the emotion itself, but in the meaning they attach to it without even realizing they're doing it. Emotions are real experiences, but they are not reliable narrators. They don't describe the world as it is. They describe the world as it was the last time you felt something similar, which means the fear you feel right now might not belong to this moment at all. It might belong to the child who once felt alone, or the teenager who learned to expect rejection, or the adult who braced for disappointment long before it ever arrived. And because emotions speak with conviction, you mistake familiarity for truth. A delayed text feels like abandonment, not because someone abandoned you, but because a part of you still remembers what it was like to be left behind. A quiet tone feels like judgment, not because you're being judged, but because your mind learned to anticipate criticism even where there is none. A neutral expression feels like rejection, not because the person is pulling away, but because your nervous system still carries the imprint of moments when you weren't chosen. Your emotions aren't trying to deceive you, they're trying to protect you using outdated information. That's why so many of your reactions feel too strong, too fast, too old. They belong to a version of you who didn't have the clarity or safety you have now. But here's the distortion. Fear doesn't say, "This reminds me of something old." It says, "You're not safe right now." Hurt doesn't say, "This is an echo." It says, "You're being wounded again." Abandonment doesn't say, "This is memory." It says, "You're being left." The emotion feels real, so the story feels real too, but the story is almost always a projection, the past masquerading as the present. This is the twist most people never see. You're not responding to the person in front of you. You're responding to the memory behind you. You're not defending your truth. You're defending a history you didn't mean to keep reliving. And the sharper the emotion feels, the more likely it's coming from a wound rather than from the actual moment. Strong emotions aren't always signals of truth. They're often signals of what has never fully healed. And once you see this clearly, another question arises almost on its own. If so much of what you feel is old, then where does the present moment actually begin? That's what we need to explore next. If so many of your emotions are echoes of the past, then where does the present moment actually begin? It begins in the space you almost never notice, the tiny pause between the emotion rising and you becoming it. This moment is so small that most people miss it entirely, but it is the most powerful part of your inner life. It's the emotional interruption point, the split second where awareness has a chance to step forward before the old story takes over. You felt it before, even if you didn't recognize it. That brief flicker where you sense yourself reacting and know, somewhere inside, that you're about to lose control. It's the moment right before the words spill out, right before the tone shifts, right before the memory from years ago floods your body and convinces you it's happening again. And here's the part no one teaches you. You don't have to stop the emotion. You only have to notice the moment it tries to take you. That noticing creates a gentle separation, the smallest distance between you and the feeling, and that distance is everything. It's the difference between reacting and witnessing, between being swept away and being able to see what is actually happening. In that pause, even if it lasts a single breath, the emotion loses its authority. It still rises, but it doesn't own you. It still speaks, but it doesn't speak for you. This isn't suppression, and it isn't control. Suppression is running. Control is fear in disguise. The pause is neither. The pause is presence. Your real self stepping forward before the old self can take the stage. And when you rest in that presence, even for a moment, something shifts. You begin to see the emotion instead of seeing through it. You sense that the feeling is strong, but the meaning behind it is uncertain. You recognize that your body is remembering, not predicting. For the first time, you can choose how to relate to the emotion instead of being consumed by it. This is the hinge point of real change. The moment you realize you don't have to fight your emotions or believe them or run from them. You only have to witness the moment they try to become you. But this creates a deeper question, one even more important than the pause itself. If you're not the reaction and you're not the story the emotion tells, then who is the you that's doing the witnessing? That's what we need to understand next. If you're not the reaction and you're not the story the emotion tells, then who is the you that's doing the witnessing? That question is the beginning of your inner regulator, not a technique, not a coping strategy, but the quiet intelligence inside you that can tell the difference between fear and truth. Because every emotion has a voice, but not every voice deserves authority. Fear has a very distinct tone, urgent, dramatic, certain. It pushes you toward conclusions that feel immediate, but collapse under clarity. Truth has a different tone entirely. It does not rush. It does not panic. It does not demand. It reveals. It's quieter, but deeper, subtle, but unmistakably steady. And the more you learn to sense that difference, the less your emotions can impersonate reality. This is where inner regulation actually begins, not by controlling what you feel, but by questioning the source of the feeling. When a powerful emotion rises, listen closely. Fear says, something is about to go wrong. Hurt says, This will end the same way it always does. Abandonment says, you're being left again. Criticism says, you're not enough. But if you step back even a little, you'll notice something important. None of these voices describe what is happening. They describe what you're afraid is happening. They're not warnings, they're memories. And when you stop treating them as truth, something dramatic shifts. You begin to hear the quieter voice beneath them, the one that simply asks, what is real right now? This is what it feels like to build your inner regulator. You're not fighting the emotion, you're checking its origin. You're asking, without judgment, is this coming from the present or from the past? And the moment you ask that question, the emotion begins to unravel. Not disappear, unravel. It loosens because it has been seen, and emotions lose power when they are recognized rather than obeyed. And something else happens too. You start to feel a subtle clarity inside you, a quiet strength you didn't know you still had. You sense that the emotion is intense, but you are larger than it. You sense that the emotion is loud, but you are deeper. You sense that the emotion is old, but you are new. And that realization brings you back into your life. Because now the emotion isn't driving you, it's revealing you. It shows you exactly where healing wants to happen, exactly where your interpretation needs updating, exactly where an old identity is still trying to speak for you. And once you see that you are no longer inside the emotion, you are above it. But this leads to the most surprising question of all. If your emotions lose their authority when you witness them, then what does your life look like when they no longer control your reactions, your relationships, your decisions, or your sense of self? That's what we need to look at next. If your emotions lose their authority when you witness them, then what does your life look like when they no longer control your reactions, your choices, or the way you see yourself? It looks like space where panic used to live, space where assumptions used to rush in, space where the old story used to take over before you even knew there was another option. It looks like an inner steadiness you may not have felt in years, the quiet, knowing that you can feel something intensely without being shaped by it. And in that space, something extraordinary happens. You begin to respond to life from who you are now instead of who you used to be. Conversations feel lighter because you're not defending a wound. Decisions feel clearer because they're not filtered through fear. Relationships feel safer because you're finally meeting people as they are, not as your past trained you to expect them to be. This is what emotional freedom actually feels like. Not the absence of emotion, but the absence of distortion. Not perfection, but perspective. Not control, but clarity. And it's available to you every single time you pause. Every time you question the source of a feeling. Every time you return to the part of you that is deeper than the reaction. Nothing about this work asks you to fight yourself. It asks you to remember yourself. The you who notices the emotion. The you who is never threatened by it. The you who remains even when the old story tries to rise. And if hearing this has opened something in you, if a part of you recognizes this truth, even before your mind knows why, let that part guide you a little more. Explore the other reflections shared on this channel. There is so much here that can meet you exactly where you are and carry you into a clarity you didn't know was possible. And if this video helped you see even one moment of your life differently, consider leaving a comment or sharing it with someone who might need the same shift. Not for numbers, not for the algorithm, but because clarity spreads. One person remembering themselves helps another remember too. Before you go, hold this one truth gently. Your emotions do not define you. They never have. You are the one who sees them. You are the one who stands steady beneath them. You are the one who returns to yourself every time you choose awareness over the old story. That quiet strength, that is you. It will be there the next time the wave rises and the next and the next. You are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are meeting them, and that changes everything.